So Nico Harrison has officially been fired from his job as the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks. Insane. Well, not insane they got fired, but just the whole last 10 months for the Dallas Mavericks as Nico Harrison, still something I'm trying to wrap my brain around. Even to this day, the Lakers just played a game against the Hornets last night. I tuned into that game and thought to myself, at least one time throughout that game, I cannot believe Luka Doncic plays for the Lakers. And the reason that he plays for the Lakers is because Nico Harrison had this vision that not a single person other than Kendrick Perkins believed in. Kendrick Perkins, the only person that when that trade happened, he was like, oh, good trade for the Dallas Mavericks. No, nobody else. Even the people that I know in the media world or on NBA Twitter that are contrarians on purpose, their whole identity is to be against what consensus is. Even those people were saying, no, Nico Harrison's tripping. This team went to an NBA Finals. In less than a full calendar year since going to the finals, traded away not just the best player, because I don't think that tells you the full story of Luka Doncic. A legitimately, I know these words are thrown together a lot with NBA players, a legitimate generational talent before his theoretical prime, without a trade request, was traded away for Anthony Davis, who we got a lot of love for, NBA 75 guy, Hall of Famer, first ballot, one of the greatest players ever. But not just Anthony Davis like when he was 27, a current day Anthony Davis that, spoiler alert, is already injured. It is still mind-blowing to me that trade went through. And Nico Harrison deserves to be fired for that action alone. Before that, we looked at Nico Harrison's one of the best GMs in basketball, whether it be the Daniel Gafford trade, whether it be the PJ Washington trade, and so on and so forth. Now, he did have his misses like the Jalen Brunson thing. But even as I say that, I recognize that part of those trades being good trades is the fact that they had Luka Doncic on the team to make it so that Daniel Gafford is a really impactful offensive player, because Luka's one of the best lob throwers in the history of the sport. That Luka, because he draws a double every time he touches the ball, makes it so that PJ Washington can hit 6 corner threes in a playoff game. So even then, Nico Harrison threw it all away. And threw away what ended up being his job, and threw away a ton of Dallas Mavericks fans in the process. Like, I know some fans that were really upset about it, still really upset about the Luka Doncic trade, but jump back in when they won the lottery, because Cooper Flagg, potentially a really good guy, and has been good in his rookie season. Even those guys who are really excited and Dallas Mavericks fans like dancing in the street or so, it's hard for me to, again, I'm not a fan of this team, so I maybe shouldn't be talking about this at all, to really accept it as a huge win. Like, obviously, you don't want Nico Harrison making any other decisions for the team. But Luka's never coming back to the franchise. At least, maybe he gets a one-day contract, like a Paul Pierce type thing. And that still does suck for the fan base. Now, I don't think we'll ever can completely get rid of that era, right? No matter how far we get into Dallas Mavericks' future. Hell, if Cooper Flagg still becomes a superstar, if they lose so much that they get a nice lottery pick, we will still look at the Dallas Mavericks as the team that threw away a championship contender to construct whatever the hell they're trying to construct right now. Nico Harrison's vision was so ridiculously bad that the people that he convinced of that vision, the owners, the Dumont family, or that family that owns a team, gave his vision 11 games in the next season before they said, nah, this shit sucks. 11 games. Defense wins championships. Hey, they have one of the best defenses in the league. They also have a win percentage of 27.3. So defense wins championships. You know what does win championships? Defense objectively helps you win championships. It is a very important part to winning the championship, but star players do. And not just star players, A-tier star players. Because Anthony Davis is still a star player. He's just not in the same tier as Luka Doncic. And again, I'm not saying anything new to you. You've known this. We've talked about it for 10 months. But for the fact that it happened this early on shows you that the people that were in charge of letting Nico Harrison make the decision still didn't see the vision. Or maybe they did. It just didn't love the backlash that came from it. Because even yesterday, when they played against the Milwaukee Bucks in a game that they were very close in winning, the fan base are still chanting, fire Nico Harrison, in a game that they are 2 possessions away from winning. Taking all of the energy away from what ended up being Cooper Flagg's best game of his NBA career so far, taking all the energy away from those guys who are competing on a nightly basis and putting it right into Nico Harrison. There was a report 2 days ago that the Nico Harrison, discomfort or hate from the fan base got so bad that in his normal seat, they had a detachable staircase, so he didn't have to go through the crowd in order to get back to after watching the games. Are you kidding me? That was the loops that we were jumping through as an organization to keep this man in as a job. And now they got Michael Finley and another guy that's going to come in to potentially right the ship. But the reality is, There's no writing the ship. Luka Doncic plays for the Lakers, and the Lakers look good right now and are poised to be really solid for the next decade. And that was you. That literally was you. And now it's not. Again, it's a little light in the tunnel. You got Cooper Flag or maybe another lottery pick, whatever. But the conversation that we talked about on the podcast when it broke, because we were live when it ended up happening, was okay. Nico Harrison's out. Now the fan base still will never be completely satisfied again because Luka Doncic is in a rival, if you will, a conference rival. But they can wash their hands with Nico Harrison stuff, and now they can focus on this current roster. Now they can start thinking about, okay, when we hit this reset button, which feels like an inevitability at this point because there's nothing about this current team that makes you feel like they can win a championship. When we hit that reset button, when will it be? Do you give the interim GM the ability to make a big-time trade, trading away Anthony Davis, trading away Kyrie Irving, or do you wait until the offseason where you have all the people that you may want to represent you as a general manager and have them make that decision? I don't really know. And if you are going to do that, if you are going to give the general manager, the interim general manager, that leeway, what type of compensation do you get in return if you are going to tear some things down? Because if we look at the Dallas Mavericks roster, I think we can all agree there are competent like players that contribute to winning basketball games for another team. Anthony Davis might be 32 years old and looks out of shape and now wearing goggles, but if he became available today, there are going to be teams that are going to call. Now, you may not get the Kevin Durant return. You may not even get a Mikal Bridges return, but like people will be interested in Anthony Davis. Even D'Angelo Russell on the $5 million deal. If somebody told you D'Angelo Russell we can trade for $5 million and 2 second-round picks to be our third string point guard just in case, people would be interested in that. I feel the same way, of course, about Kyrie Irving. If he became available today, even coming off of his injury, teams would be interested. Najee Marshall has blossomed. Daniel Gafford looks really good. PJ Washington showed you in a playoff series a few years back that he could do it. And even Klay Thompson, who can't hit a goddamn shot, he's still Klay Thompson, and he's making $15 million. So the idea is, or the question is, when will they make it happen? And if they do, will they ever get trade packages in return that make people happy? It's impossible to put the past in the past when it is this big of a breakup, if you will. Like, you're always going to think about Luka Doncic. But I wonder if you trade Anthony Davis for an intriguing young piece and maybe a future draft capital that you feel good about. If you trade Daniel Gafford to the Celtics and get back something, whatever, could you just be like, okay, now this is who we are as a fan base, yada, yada. They lost a lot of viewership. They lost a lot of fans in the process of the Nico Harrison thing back in February. I wonder if just the firing of the Nico Harrison is enough for what were like really good season ticket holders to come back and say, hey, all right, cool, he's gone. Now I really trust y'all again. Because the Dumont family, I've said this before, they're not NBA people, right? A lot of the owners across basketball are NBA people, whether it be via association or yada, yada, yada. They're not NBA people. From my understanding, they came in from the casino world, the betting world, had all this lump sum, paid Mark Cuban to buy this team. But they weren't people that would tell you that in 1999, this team won the championship, right? They were just like business first people. And with that, they had Nico Harrison, who at that point, like we mentioned earlier, was really decent at his job. And they had full trust in him making these big time decisions. Obviously ended up being wrong. And, you know, one of the things, and I'm not calling Nico Harrison a scapegoat at all because he made the bad trade and all, but ownership deserves some level of responsibility for it. If there's anything that makes it maybe a little bit easier is that they did put together a press release that basically took accountability for it all. So maybe they are about to be more basketball focused when it comes to these type of things, because you can't run an NBA team like a business necessarily. You have to think about a lot of different things. You have to think about the basketball on the court. You got to think about the fan base. You got to think about all of these things. And I felt as though they didn't really. What were they thinking? They didn't really think about it. They didn't really think about anything. I made this tweet yesterday. When it was rumored that Nico may be out of a job. They didn't tell you tomorrow. They said at some point throughout the season. One of the things I find really interesting about firing coaches or GMs is the straw that breaks the back, right? The Giants just fired their coach after they lost a game to the Bears, right? Obviously, that wasn't the main reason, but it's like leading up to that point. And I wonder what it was for the Dumont family to say, like, after game 11, this is the time where Nico's going to be gone. Because, it wasn't even a full year before since they made the trade in order to see if his vision was the vision. So I'm really curious to see what it was. I mean, there's a post that's going around about somebody from the Dumont family sitting down with a kid sitting courtside, and they talked about and he took accountability. Was that kid the savior of Dallas, getting Nico Harrison out of there? I don't really know. But it's somebody, I ain't made no decision like this, but it's somebody that is trying to build a business and would enjoy basketball. I understand. I mean, I obviously don't have the assets that they do, but I understand trusting in someone to make a big decision in an area where you don't feel comfortable in. So I wonder if they feel like Nico not only scammed the fan base, but scammed them because we trusted you to keep the team afloat. We trusted you to do what was right by the team. Again, same thing I was saying business, when things go wrong for me as the owner, I take fault even if it wasn't my fault. And I feel the same way about the do my family. They should take fault in it. Again, they did. But that was one of the things. What was the straw that broke the camel's back? And now I'm just having thoughts as we sit here. I wonder if the fan base, and if you're Mavericks fans, you let me know, because I can only speak from an outsider looking in. I wonder if the focus of the discomfort from the fan base, if that shifts. You know what I mean? Obviously fire Nico Harrison, but maybe sell the team. Is sell the team coming next, I guess, is the question. You know what I mean? Could we hear a sell the team chat? Now that, if you're the do my family, that's the last thing you want. And you kind of hope that it all blows over, but it's impossible to blow over because, again, it's the biggest trade in the history of the sport and maybe the history of sports in general. Man, I've said it. I'll say it again. I'm not huge into the NFL. I'm a goddamn Bears fan, but I can't tell you the worst trade that the 49ers have ever made. I can't tell you the worst trade that the I almost said Marlins, Dolphins, or in the NFL, or in the NHL world, or in the MLB world. I can tell you the craziest trade. But from people that I know that are diehard NFL fans or diehard MLB fans, even they are saying that this Luka Donic trade is the craziest trade they have ever seen. Whew. Yeah. I wonder if Nico Harrison still believes in the vision. Like, does he say, well, if Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving were healthy right now, we'd be the two. You know, like, I wonder if he still sees that. Or is he still in that little bubble? Or does he recognize that when 99% of people are telling you are in the wrong, then more likely than not that you are in the wrong? So a lot to be said. I already made this tweet, but I'll say it again publicly. Stop sending me photoshops of Anthony Davis in the Bulls jersey. I recognize that 10 years ago he said one day he wanted to play for the Bulls. I recognize that the Bulls are on a losing streak right now, so who the hell knows? But at one point, a solid NBA team. Stop doing it. Stop doing it, okay? The reason why it's so annoying to me is it is the exact trade I think that Artunis Karnisovas would pull off. And that's what scares me. That's what scares me. Yeah. Don't let it happen. I mean, if it does happen, we cross that bridge eventually, but stop throwing me that trade, man. It's just, I don't know. I don't like injury problems. As somebody that dealt with injury riddled superstar throughout the entirety of my high school plus it's a tough feeling, and I know some of y'all deal with this, whether you're a Hornets fan or you're a Pelicans fan or you're a former Laker fan or you're a current Dallas. You've dealt with these injured superstars before, and there's nothing like getting your hopes up for a player or for a team and for somebody to get injured and just like the rest of the season's kind of can. I don't want that. I don't want that. You let me know what you think about Nico Harrison being fired. I feel like there's more to say. I can save it.